Hi CA Final aspirants, I am Amal. I am a faculty for CA Final Financial Reporting paper. So when it comes to the financial reporting paper, most of the students think that it is a subject which is taking a lot of time for you to revise because of the volume we are having, because of the standards, the number of standards we are having, because of the depth of the level of depth at which each standard is discussed. Considering all of this, the students are facing a lot of problem in their revisions. So in this video, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to divide the entire CA final financial reporting paper into 6 or 7 categories, and I'm giving a proper plan for you to revise it 3 times within the time available with you. So if you are going to write the examination in January 2026 exam, or if you are going to write the exams in May 26 or onwards, so whatever is the attempt you will be having, you can use this revision plan, and you can effectively revise this particular paper, and you can score good marks in this particular paper as well. So this analysis, this revision tracker I had developed based on the new syllabus examination style, new syllabus examination pattern. So I had critically evaluated all the exams from November, May 25, now May 24, November 24, and again May 25, and then September 25 and all. So if you are evaluating all this, evaluating all these papers, there are certain critical areas from which you are getting questions frequently, and there are certain areas wherein you will be required to spend a lot of time, but it is not that much worth as well. So in this video we'll be discussing all those situations, and I'm giving a 3 round revision plan. So at the first level we'll be having a detailed round 1 revision wherein you will be required to spend around 135 hours on that. And secondly, you will be having another second round, the exam revision, that is the round 2 revision. So that round 2 revision you can spend up to a 60 hours of time, and thereafter you can have a quick 1 day revision wherein it is like 12 hours and all. So those kind of a quick revision as well. So how you can plan for it, that is what I am going to discuss in this particular video. So if you evaluate the recent financial reporting paper, you can say that the business combination and consolidation question is tested in every attempt with around 20 to 25 marks. That is, you'll be getting a 14 marks question as compulsory question and all, and again you are getting 4 mark of 6 marks MCQ as well. So put together the business combination and consolidation area, you are always getting a weightage of 20 to 25 marks. Apart from that, there is our most critical chapter, that is financial instruments. Many of the students think that this particular standard is little bit troublemaker, but trust me, if you learn it confidently, it is learn it conceptually, it is a very interesting chapter, and it is a very easy chapter as well. So that standard also institute usually ask around 16 to 20 marks in almost every attempt. And thereafter there is a standard known as revenue standard. So earlier, under old syllabus, that is the syllabus prior to May 2024, they were asking questions to the tune of 16 marks from this particular standard. 10 to 16 marks were the weightage which we were seeing for this particular standard alone. Whereas when it comes to this new syllabus, its weightage has got little bit reduced. You are getting a 6 marks or 7 marks question from this area. It is not even a 10 marks. You are getting a 6 or 7 marks question, and the LISA standards. So that is also in most of the attempt you can see that there will be some testing from LISA's area as well. So these are the some of the areas from which you are getting frequent questions. And there is a set of standards which are known as asset based standard, like the inventory, the PP, borrowing cost, intangible assets, the impairment, non-current asset held for sale, these kind of standards. So this is also frequently tested, but it may not be like a single standard is tested in each attempt. So from these set of standards, there will be testing 2 or 3 in every attempt. And there is another set of standard, that is liability based standard, like your income tax standard, your employee benefit standard, and your provisions contingent liability. So these standards are also, you can see that they are testing it in consolidation as well as you are having a standalone question based on these kind of question. And if you see certain areas like Ind AS 33 earnings per share, or Ind AS 30 for interim financial reporting, or Ind AS 108 operating segment, so these kind of standards, uh, that is, it is not that much hard, it is not at all that much complex in nature, but institute loves them. Institute always ask questions from these kind of presentation standards as well. So by considering all these things, I had came up with a revision tracker. Okay, this I will also give a link for this Excel file. You can use this as a revision tracker. So the first round revision, and which all areas you need to cover, and what is the priority level, whether you had done the concept, whether you had done the practice, whether you had done the mock. Likewise, you can track this. I'll be giving this the link for this file in the description as well. You can download it from there. So without wasting time, I'm discussing the revision plan. So the first set of standards I ask you to cover is the uh, standards with respect to business combination. If you had learned the standards, you had completed your classes, you will be having an idea about how the index works and all. So at that point in time, at your revision stage, the first set of standards which you can take is the business combination consolidation standard. In that, you'll be having four major standards. You'll be having Ind AS 103 business combination. You'll be having Ind AS 110 on consolidated financial statements, Ind AS 111 on joint arrangements, and Ind AS 28 on accounting for investment in associates. These four standards, you can spend up to 30 hours of time, and you can critically do a revision of this topic. You can do a lot of problem from this area. You have to write a lot, you have to practice a lot, you have to do a time bound practice also. That is, if the question is going to ask for 14 marks, you are required to complete this within a span of 20 to 25 minutes. That is the maximum time you can take. So whether you are able to complete it at least with 30 minutes, or at least with 35 minutes, first in the first round revision you need to track this. If you are slower, you need to push yourself, you need to push yourself to do this at a little bit earlier length, at with a little bit more pace, and gradually you should be able to complete it within half an hour time. So that is one major task you should always do when it comes to business combination consolidation area, because the FR paper is always going to be lengthy. So most of the students will not say that FR was tough. Most of them will always say that FR was lengthy. I was not able to complete that particular paper. For me as well, when I was a student at intermediate level for my CA intermediate paper, I could only complete 84 marks. And for my CA final paper, I could complete only up to 92 marks. So that too under old syllabus, when this Ind AS and all was not there. But when this Ind AS has got introduced, and when this MCQs has got introduced, the paper is becoming more and more lengthy. So you have to complete it within the time that is there. So for each 1 mark, you can take up to 1.8 to 2 minutes. So you should not go beyond that. You should not go beyond that. So you have to track your time as well at your revision level. So likewise, you should start with business combination. You should master that. You should do consolidation. You should master that. That is the first area you should cover. And thereafter, you can move on to the financial instruments area. So it's a highly conceptual area. So if you got the concept, very good, perfect. You should go ahead with that and do a lot of questions on that. If you're having any issues with respect to the concept, you can watch the revision lectures. You can check your short notes. You can check your faculty notes. All those things you can refer and make it as conceptually stronger, as well as you should practice a lot. So you should spend around 20 to 25 hours on that financial instruments area also, because this is an area from which you will be getting questions to the tune of around 20 marks in most of the attempts. And if you're completing that, after that, what you need to do is that you need to go ahead with revenue and leases. But when you're going with the revenue standard, it should not take revenue and leases put together, it should not take around 15 hours time, because most of the students, what they are doing is that they'll spend a lot of time on revenue, but they may not be getting that much confidence in that particular standard. And they think that my revisions are not over, I'm not able to complete on time and all, whereas you are leaving the standards like in days 33, 34, 118 and all. Okay, so what I suggest is that more than you spend time on India's 115, those kind of standards, you can spend that much time on India's 33, India's 34, India's 108, India's 113 and framework. If you're able to spend the time you are allocating for India's 115 to this much standards, you will get more marks, you will be getting more marks than the revenue standards. So that is the reason why I'm asking you to reduce your time for the revenue standards. So when it comes to revenue standard, there are certain areas from which institute is always asking question like performance obligation satisfied over time, contract modification, those kind of areas, service concession arrangement, or the allocation of transaction price, allocation of discount, the determination of standalone selling price, these kind of areas. Okay, so what you need to do is that you have to take the examination questions from the past years and you have to do those questions first. You have to brush up the concept. You are not required to go through the entire 5 steps in detail and revise that topic just like a financial instruments. It is not worth that much. So what you need to do is that you need to brush up this and do a lot of practice and spend around 8 to 10 hours on this revenue standard. And thereafter you should move on to leases. Around your 5 to 7 hours you have to spend on leases standard, identification of lease, lesser accounting, lessee accounting, in that modification, reassessment, and lastly sale and leaseback. So these are the areas in which you will be getting frequent questions. So you have to cover all these areas. You have to do problems on modification, you have to do problems on lesser accounting, manufacturer or dealer lesser, and you should always do problems on sale and leaseback as well. So you have to cover all these kind of areas, and based on that you should plan your revisions. Then another area where you need to spend another 15 hours or 14-15 hours is your asset based standard. So when it comes to the asset based standard, okay, the inventory, PPE, the borrowing cost, these kind of standards are much familiar to you, it is much familiar to you. So it is not worth that you're spending a lot of time on that. At the same time, it is frequently tested. So what you need to do is that you should segregate that topic and you should revise the most conceptual areas like replacement of part in PPE, replacement of part, cost of regular major inspection, adjustment with respect to decommissioning, self-constructed asset problem with borrowing cost adjustment, the change in decommissioning liability problems, those kind of things from the PPE area. Borrowing cost, it is like the specific and general borrowing both comes into picture, phase wise construction, those kind of areas you can focus. And when it comes to Ind AS 38, you can take problems like there can be instances where internally generated intangible asset is there and you're doing the impairment test for that as a DR, and the amortization related things and intangible assets with indefinite useful life, those kind of areas you can focus a bit. And when it comes to the impairment, you can come up with a CGU concept. We can also check the goodwill impairment. You can also go ahead with corporate asset. So those kind of areas you have to focus a lot. And the interplay between impairment standard and Ind AS 105, that is also to be considered. So there are certain questions in Ind AS 105 which is having connection with Ind AS 36. Also how the loss will be allocated, that is similar to the way that is there in Ind AS 36 and all. So those kind of problems also to be practiced. But the standards like your investment property or the agriculture standards, so that you have to just brush through. I'm not saying that you should not do that. You just brush through the concept, do one or two problems. Do not take much time on those kind of standards. Then again you should spend another 14-15 hours on the liability standard. In that, more particularly the deferred tax standard and the employee benefit standard. So these two standards are highly conceptual, so you have to build your conceptual knowledge. You have to consider how this deferred tax works. You have to check the comprehensive questions which is there in the RTP and previous year exams, wherein 3-4 scenarios are given and you are required to get the deferred tax impact and the deferred tax and business combination, deferred tax and share based payment. Those kind of areas you have to cover. And as well as when it comes to Ind AS 19, you have to consider the compensated absences as well as the defined benefit plan accounting for sure. So these kind of areas you should focus. At the same time, the provision standard that is similar to that is of AS 29, but still you have to spend certain time on the restructuring, or you have to spend some time on reimbursement. You have to spend some time on the recognition criteria also. Okay, so you have to do a couple of questions. You can, when it comes to Ind AS 37, what you can do is that you can review the questions a lot, because it's purely theoretical in nature. And thereafter, the most critical area, that is most of the students avoids, but happens is that when it comes to the examination, there is a higher weightage. So what you need to do is that these areas, the Ind AS 7 on cash flows, Ind AS 33, more particularly Ind AS 33, 34, 108 and framework, these four areas, 33, 34, 108 and framework chapter. So the framework chapter, if you see this, in every attempt, almost every attempt, they are asking 4 to 6 marks question. And this is a strong base for you to interpret the standards as well. So I would recommend to do the framework chapter for at least 3 to 4 hours, because it is an easy 4 to 6 marks area. And operating segment, identification of operating segment and segment reporting. So these two things is what is actually asked in the segment reporting. So you can always check that it was taking a very less time. So you should always include that in days 108 in your syllabus. I don't know why institute is so much having so much phone towards Ind AS 34. Okay, it is not that much critical standard, but institute loves them. Institute always asks questions from those kind of standards. So the 33 and 34. In 33 there are conceptual areas, but 34 it's a very very simple standard. You have to revise it. You have to spend around 12 hours, 12 to 14 or 15 hours on those standards as well. So your presentation and disclosure standards as well as framework, you have to spend some time on that. But the standards like related party or Ind AS 8, 10, those kind of things, they are not frequently tested, so you can avoid them, or you can shift them to the last round, wherein you are spending 7 hours or 8 hours for the entire that miscellaneous areas. Whereas you'll be having certain standards like Ind AS 102. On that, I would recommend that you should spend at least a 4 to 5 hours, because it is a high frequency and easy marks. And there is a standard which is regularly tested in the new syllabus, that is the Ind AS 101 first time adoption of this Indian accounting standards. So even though that standard is frequently tested, I ask you to spend very minimal time on that, because that standard, in order to do that standard, you need to have knowledge of other standards also. And more efforts are required. Even though you had done 10 or 15 problems, you will not feel confident on that. So you brush through the concept, you do the problems there in the study material and in the previous examination, that's it. Do not spend much time on that Ind AS 101, those kind of areas. So likewise you should spend that. And for the miscellaneous standards, you can spend around 7 hours, and around 120 to 135 hours you can spend on your first round revision like this. So if you are doing this revision in a 120 to 135 hours, your conceptual base will be strong. Your knowledge with respect to the standards will be strong. You will be able to build a confidence in this particular paper. And thereafter what you need to do is that in the second level exam focus practice, you have to cut this into 60-hour revision, wherein the business combination consultation you need to do bare minimum two full length questions, and you should do a lot of questions, you should review a lot of questions. And financial instruments you should focus on core in the second round of revision. Core focus on the examinable problems like off market terms, the compound financial instruments, modification of financial liability, impairment, financial guarantee contracts, these kind of areas. So you have to test. If the best thing what you can do is that you can take your study material and you can do the comprehensive questions, all the comprehensive questions you have to cover. That is what is most important when it comes to the financial instruments. Then revenue and lease, again you can spend around 7 hours of time, wherein in revenue standard you can go ahead with standalone selling price, the performance obligation satisfied over, those kind of things. For leases you can go ahead with modification and manufacturer or dealer lesser problems, those kind of areas you can focus. Then I would suggest to go with the liability standard, because the asset standard is something which we always love them. So it requires a very minimal time. Whereas when it comes to the liability standard, it is highly conceptual, like in days 12 and in days 19. So spend more time on that. Defined benefit plan, comprehensive RTP problems on in days 12 and all. Spend that another 6 hours on these kind of areas. Then spend presentation and disclosure standard, wherein EPS, interim reporting, operating segment, and framework. These four areas you should focus more and revise it. Thereafter, you can go ahead with a 5 hour revision for asset based standard, wherein you can cover impairment with held for sale, impairment of goodwill, those kind of areas, the decommission change in decommissioning liability, those kind of critical conceptual areas you can do the problems. Rest of them you can review. And then you have to go ahead with index 12 framework, ethics and technology, those areas. For those areas 6 hours you can spend in that. Index 102 and framework should be the core focus. And then you should go ahead with RTP or MTP practice for your self examination. 4 hours you should spend. And in the first round revision also you should do a comprehensive questioning, and you should spend at least 10 hours time for your MCQ practice as well, that I omitted to tell you. So you have to do a full RTP or MTP full practice, as well as you should do a mock exam under exam environment. That is critical, so that is also to be included in your second round of revision. And lastly, when it comes to your 12-hour last day revision, the final lap, you should always allocate more weightage to your core standards, like India is 103, 110, 109, 12, 19, and 102. These areas you have to spend some 4 hours. Then asset based, liabilities based, and presentation standard, which are all important, like 16, 23, 38, 36, 19, 33, 34, 108. These kind of standards you can spend another 4 hours of time. Then the mixed topics like revenue, lease, then the framework, all those areas you can take another 4 hours of time. Likewise, you can plan your revisions. So if you are planning this revision in this way, it will give you more confidence on this paper. When it comes to the examination hall also, you will be able to attend more. So this is one idea in which you can prepare for this particular paper. Okay. So when it comes to the financial reporting paper, it is highly technical. It is highly conceptual. So you have to build your base strong. You have to build your concept strong. So for that, revision like three tier revision like this will be most helpful for you. So what you need to do is that you have to bounce back, and you have to spend a lot of time on revision. You have to write and practice a lot. You need to get stronger in your MCQ. Do at least around 5 or 6 MCQs, okay, in a day when you are taking the FR paper. And when you are doing the revision, my humble request is that you should not take one single subject alone continuously for 5 to 6 days. What I suggest is that in a week time at least all the subject is getting touched. In that way you should plan your revision as well. Again, one more thing I need to tell you, that in most of the cases what we are seeing is that the students are having uh, a plan like they are starting their studies in the early morning. They'll start at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they'll study a lot, and after 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock they'll take a nap, and into up to 3 p.m. and all. And if you're a student who is like he's sitting late, he's also usually like after the lunch time, it is a usual habit that we go for sleep, and thereafter we are studying. So my humble request to you is that the 2 to 5 in the evening, afternoon, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., that is our examination time. So what I suggest is that when you are doing your revisions, when you are studying, this must be the time in which you are doing the examination practice. This is the time in which you are doing the writing practice. Likewise, you should build a habit that you're always studying, you are always writing at the 2 to 5 timing. So that is also very important. When you are following something for around 21 days, that will become your habit. So if you are sleeping for 21 days, at that point in time you'll feel sleepy when it comes to the examination. If you're doing problems continuously for 21 days in that 2 to 5 timings, your brain will be sharp, you'll be able to be more productive in the examination hall. So keep these kind of points also in your mind. Okay, always stay focused, always be healthy, and revise the topic a lot, practice this topic a lot. Okay, you all of you can win this particular examination. It is not that much difficult, so that confidence should be there in your mind. So prepare well. All the very best for your exams. Thank you.